Welcome to this day 6 of the Living Well series. So here we are to talk about gratitude to Mother Nature. But first of all, I want to set some context around why we're here. So obviously, we are in unprecedented, first time in our lives at least, or even in the near distant past, we've seen anything like this where the entire world has come to a grinding halt. And we're asking ourselves, how did we get here? How long is this going to last? What do I do with my time? Where do I focus my energy and attention? So, here, first of all, I want to just share some reflection around what I'm noticing out there. So, first thing, I feel like this is a fabric that has been tensed. Right? Imagine we've been pulling at this fabric for a long time and stretching it and stretching it and stretching it. What is this fabric? The fabric of society, fabric of what makes us human, fabrics of what holds us all together. So that has been becoming taut, tighter and tighter, and so much so that it's become like a string. And even the string has been stretched, and it has become like it was one strand of that string that was holding all together. And then, unbeknownst to a bird, that it came flying to this and landed on the string, tweeting away, looking here and there, doing its thing. And suddenly the weight of that little bird snapped this fabric of society. So now what do we do? So what I'm observing, humanity is asking itself, how do we take these two ends and then tie it together? Is that going to be the solution? So we just take this broken two pieces and say, we're going to tie together and pretend nothing ever happened. And we're just going to go with that knot and continue on to live our lives. Or should we re-examine the whole element of how we got to this place? What caused that tension? And then maybe we need to take apart the strands of this fabric and completely weave something new. So that's the first observation. The second observation that I have is actually something pretty positive, and it's pretty amazing what has happened, how humanity has reacted. So my observation is that the way that the entire human race is working on this invisible contagion gives me the faith that humanity, when it puts its mind together and when it unites itself, we can fight against any social evil. So what are some of the things? So right now, the last estimates I've heard is there are 37,000 deaths so far because of COVID-19, and the world is kicking and screaming and has come to a complete grinding halt. Now, did you know that 5 million people, 5 million children die of starvation every year? 65 million people are displaced because of war and terrorism. Millions of people are sleeping on the streets every day because they don't have a shelter. Could we put our minds together to be able to address this? Now that we have learned how to come together, now that we've had this little demo tape of how we can address something at a global level, I have faith that if we continue to repurpose our energy, our capability that we found ourselves now in because of extreme conditions, to really eradicate the suffering on this planet. Then the third thing I'm noticing is that I'm noticing a trend towards a lot of people being displaced from their jobs. And then the question I'm asking myself is that once this cloud of this contagion gets lifted, are people going to go back to the same old? Maybe not. I'm seeing that there's an evolution happening in society where the systems that are being put in place right now for eradicating or letting businesses continue while we're eradicating this virus, some of which is going to stay in place. That means some of these jobs that have been lost because of this temporary shutdown, the curfew, the lockdown, may not ever come back. And I actually see that as a blessing. You know why? If indeed there is automation that is possible for human roles today, then perhaps humanity's intelligence and attention and energy could be put to more creative tasks, put to something purposeful that machines cannot take, or not yet be able to take, with this level of artificial intelligence and evolution that we've come to so far. So perhaps there's a beautiful benefit. So if you're finding yourself at that receiving end of what I've just shared, that is that you have lost your job or there's a potential threat to your job, I ask that you don't panic, because panic doesn't help in anything. Panic actually takes away one's ability to find creative solutions. So breathe, hold, release. And when you find your calm, ask yourself, what is my purpose? Where could I put my gifts and talents? Where is that a thing, that particular element that I get appreciated for by my friends, colleagues, neighbors, relatives, etc.? What do people love about me? And can I use that as a means of my new pursuit? Okay. The other thing that I had heard yesterday to somebody, you remember yesterday I mentioned that thing about this people fearing death. And I said, I'm going to address that. So interestingly, there was a comment that one of you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but somebody texted me a comment saying that, Jay, I'm not really scared of death. What I'm scared about is the suffering before I die. And my response was, relax. Everybody, all of humanity is in the same boat. Whether you're old age, young age or not, we're all suffering because of different levels of fear for different things, for different reasons we are afraid of. So my antidote, my experience for fear is that, first of all, we understand fear. Fear is a response that is coming from a place of lack of love. So they could either be fear or there is love. So how then can I create a sense of love when circumstances are obviously putting me in a place of fear? And my response is very simple. It is the attitude of gratitude. When you find something to be grateful for, you automatically get away from that mindset of fear. Now, only one of these two is possible. You cannot hold fear and gratitude at the same time. You cannot hold depression and gratitude at the same time, because gratitude comes from a place of love, and love and fear cannot coexist. If you're fearful, that means there is no love. You're not coming from a place of love. So fear then escalates. If not addressed, it is going to escalate into anger. Anger, if you don't nip it at the bud, escalates into hatred. What happens next is anxiety, because now I have so much hatred, but I don't know how to deal with all these elements that I'm hating. So then I suddenly start feeling anxious about my life. And anxiety leads to depression. Depression that I'm helpless. My life is doomed. I don't have control. And depression, guess what? It leads to suicidal tendencies. So that's the progression of this disease, that if you do not catch fear early, it moves on to anger, hatred, anxiety, depression, and suicidal tendencies. So then the question becomes, how do we switch from this side to this side, to a place of love? And like I said, it's the attitude of gratitude. So today's meditation I dedicated towards cultivating gratitude. So first of all, before we start every day, I do a little somatic exercise to get you into the body before we get into our heart space. So today, I ask that you cup your hands. So I'm going to move back a little bit so you can see me. So make this kind of a posture where your palms are on your shoulders. And as you're taking a deep breath, I want you to raise, bring it down, and as you're breathing out, let go. So give me some shoulder rolls like that. Breathing in as you're coming down, breathing out as you're going back and up. Now let's see if you can reverse that. So as you're breathing in, take your arms up, the elbows up. Breathing out, you put it down. Nice stretch. And then the closer you bring your elbows to each other, you'll feel a nice stretch. And the more wider when you go back, you can feel your shoulder blades opening up. With your eyes open or closed, I want you to drop in to your heart space. This probably will be a much easier exercise if you close your eyes today. Close your eyes and I want you to visualize the earth floating in space. See the magnificent blue marble floating in the vast cosmic arena. It's that tiny blue dot that we call home. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives on this planet. The Earth is the only planet known so far to harbor a life. There's nowhere else, at least in the near future, for our species to migrate. Even with its unrivaled position, Mother Earth has served life unconditionally with great humility and tolerance. It has provided shelter, warmth, food, water, and recreation, never seeking any reward, recognition, or even respect in return. It has sustained life regardless of how big or small, intelligent or not, kind or destructive each species has been. But that benevolence of Mother Nature has been taken for granted by the human race. We have used and abused her as if it has an endless pool of resources that we can take, tame, tap into, and trash without any consequence. Our callousness and selfishness is coming back to haunt us now. The time has come to wake up, to realize, to live with gratitude for our home, our mother, our sustainer. This gratitude is more for my peace and for my well being than anything else. As you take in some deep, comfortable breaths, noticing the rise and the fall of your belly. Become aware of yourself as a being of conscious energy. Now let's recognize and express gratitude to Mother Earth and all of its elements. Starting with water. With my strength of spirit, I send the light and energy of peace to the element of water on this planet. Water is life. It is water that sustains all species on this planet. 60% of my body is water. As I'm sending this healing light to the element of water, I am healing myself. Now, with my strength of spirit, I send the light and energy of peace to the element of earth on this planet. The soil provides the foundation upon which we stand, the shelter for our safety, and the food that we consume. As I'm sending healing light to the element of earth, I'm healing our home, my home, all our home. Now, with my strength of spirit, I send the light and energy of peace to the element of air on this planet. Breath is life. Life starts and ends with breath. Fresh air, the cool breeze in my hair, and the rustle of leaves are priceless resources for my well being. As I'm sending this healing light to the element of air, I am rejuvenating my own well being. Now, with the strength of spirit, I send light and energy of peace to the element of fire on this planet. Fire provides nourishment, warmth, and light upon which all life on this planet depends. The perfect balance of heat and light is what makes life viable on this planet. As I'm sending healing light to the element of fire, I'm preserving the conditions for our survival. Finally, with the strength of my spirit, I send the light and peace to the element of ether or space. Ether holds the sun, moon, stars, and all the planets. The vast space provides a beautiful canvas upon which I experience a different painting each night and day. As I'm sending light to the element of ether, I'm blessing the spaciousness and creativity in my life. Thank you, Mother, for sustaining us. Thank you also for shaking us now and showing us that we are dependent on something much bigger than ourselves. Thank you for protecting us, but also thank you for stopping us to make us see how long we were in the busyness, not having time for the most basic things. Thank you for engaging us, but also thank you for allowing us to put aside all our problems that we thought were so important and showing us what was actually more important. Thank you for inspiring us, but also thank you for stopping us in our tracks. Thank you for this reevaluation of our lives. This gratitude is helping me enhance my own immune system. This gratitude is helping me adjust my perspective in life. Now envision your life as far into the future as you possibly can see. And bless your future self. And bless the journey into the future with this attitude of gratitude that you feel right now. Notice the energy that you've created not only within yourself, but around you in just these few minutes. Now ask that you ponder upon this question. What beauty am I creating, cultivating, or inviting in today? What beauty am I creating, cultivating, or inviting in today? At your own pace, just whenever you feel ready, gently open your eyes if you had them closed. And then I want you to please put your responses for the creativity question in the chat window. So I'm beginning to see some responses. Beauty of health. Wonderful. A beautiful dinner for my partner. Thank you, Jonathan. The beauty of silence, Luz Elena. Creating a world filled with healthy people. Jabin, thank you. The beauty of the natural world. Thank you, Kathy. Learning to chant. Yes, thank you, Ranjani. Love, laughter, health. Thank you, Archana. Healthy mind is beautiful. Yes, thanks, Asha. Healthy mind is beauty. Yes, you're right. So I will read these answers, response I'm getting, but I also want to give you the time now to formulate any questions that you might have for me that you can put into the Q&A section. So not in this chat window, but you'll see another little option for something called Q&A, which some of you know because you've been doing the last few days. So as I read out, you can formulate your questions. So let's see. compassion, strength of mind, the beauty of cooperation with all, the calmness and peace. Yes. Loving people, vulnerable, honest, loving communication between me and my partner. Yes, Katie. Beautiful smiles. Yes. The beauty in nature. Beauty of our immune system. Very good, Professor Redana. You've spoken like a professor right there. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go over to the question section. I feel fearful about the people I love suffering and dying. So that's a weird time when fear and love coexist, no? I bet you know. Okay, so fear and love are not coexisting. I'm sorry to reveal this to you, Lynn. So look at what you're asking. The people I love are suffering and dying. So you're saying that there is love there because of, obviously, you're concerned for certain people. And then because there is the suffering, there is the element of fear. Now, love is only for one to give, is only for one to share. It's not for us to expect it to be received, for it to persist, for it to manifest in a way that is going to match my expectations of how I want the object of who or what I'm showing my love to. So, in other words, check yourself whether that love is tinged with expectations, which is where the fear is creeping into the equation. Love is just love. Love is just unconditional. But when then there is a certain tinge of expectations of that person needs to live this long, expectation that person needs to be there for me, to be able to do this for me or do this for somebody else, whatever that, so whatever the form of expectation, perhaps therein lies the source of the fear that you're feeling. Yes? Something for you to reflect on. Okay, Prabhakar is asking a question. What is love? Is it ever, never criticize? Yes, so again, so I allude back to the question that came in before and my response to it. So when you are criticizing, there is no respect. When you are communicating, it's a different thing. Criticizing comes from a place of condescension. So you're condescending. Condescending meaning you're saying that I know better and you don't. Therefore, I am somehow in a position to criticize, to look down and say something to you, wherein I want you to meet my standards, whatever those standards are. So I ask you this question. Can there be judgment and condescension? So can you have this attitude of looking down at somebody without respect if you are saying that you love? There's two different things. And you know what is interesting? Criticism never teaches anybody else to change. If anything, it makes one lose their sense of self-respect and their ability to transform, to realize. So maybe it's something for you to think about. Okay, great question. Next question, anonymous. I feel like I want to do more of thinking, but my work has become crazy busy since this situation started. I get no time to think. Looks like people are able to use this time as a break, but I feel like I'm getting more sucked into work. I feel guilty if I leave the work undone. Great. Okay, so I'll just tell you this. Just today, I was sharing with my friend Suresh and I think with Anay, who's my friend in London. about the amount of work that has come onto my plate since this whole COVID-19, since I got back from New Zealand 4 weeks ago. I was not expecting it to be, I'll be locked down for indefinite. At this point, it's going to be 2 months. So our president has announced that basically the lockdown is going to continue till the 30th of April. So I didn't expect to be locked down, and I didn't expect to be such a surge in the demand for my services, which I am very grateful for. But was not expected. I was not expecting to be so busy. So I was just looking at the statistics just from one app. I'm on 3 different apps, and we have all these different channels, YouTube and this and that. I have had 5,000 listeners. I can't remember, some hundreds of comments that keep coming in every day that I'm responding to, and I'm giving people feedback, and they're giving me feedback on how I should adjust. My recordings for my meditations are being translated as we speak. They're being recorded right now in Spanish today. And yesterday they were recorded in Chinese, and a friend of mine is actually proofreading, listening to it and making sure, because I don't understand Chinese. So I don't know if the translator did a good job. So they're being translated into 3 different languages. So unprecedented. And I was talking to Kathy, who's online today, that I'm grateful if I get 1 hour to go out for a walk or do a little bit of stretching, movement, exercise. And so, having said all of that, there are certain non-negotiables in my life. And this non-negotiable is true whether it's today, whether it's any other day, whether it's going to get even worse than what it is today, whether it's raining, it's hailstorm outside, which is my meditation, my waking up meditation and my evening closing meditation. And we have the gift of this time that you have given me. Thank you. I thank all of you who are participating, all of you who have participated in the last 6 days, and then will participate until the 7th or 8th. I think we finish this 15-day series. So I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful because this is an opportunity for me to force myself to stop everything else that I am committed to and sitting here with you in silence, in reflection, in contemplation. So thank you for that. And so, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous attendee, whoever asked this question, I want you to consider this. Bookends, beginning and end, and in the middle, we have this meditation. I don't know what time zone you're in, but for me, it's a nice time here at 8 p.m. Pacific. So Lynn is saying that I knew you would know the answer. Well put. I know you know the answer too, Lynn. It's a question of just listening in. Well, thank you for your kind comment, though. Okay, so then the next question I'm going to take from, let's see, it's another anonymous. I wonder if it's the same person. I heard on the news yesterday that the COVID-19 sick man quarantined for 2 weeks attacked a 90-year-old woman like a vampire and bit her all over her body. It disturbed me so much to know what is becoming of human beings. Well, I'll just say this. I don't think the COVID-19 has done anything to make this man any more sick in his mind, or I'm assuming it's a man, right? Man, yeah, so it is a man. To bite the woman. I think these kind of mental disorders exist. It's a reality of life, and we see that all the more today than ever before. Because I'm not a mental expert, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm just telling you my observations of what I've been seeing in my lifetime. That when there is a stress, it accelerates a mental condition. So there is an underlying pre-existing condition of any sort of a mental disorder, whether it's be bipolar, whether it's be schizophrenia, et cetera, et cetera. Situations and circumstances on the outside can actually exacerbate the situation. So it can actually hasten the process of the growth of that disease within the person. So what we're seeing today is a epitome of stress. For example, the isolation part, people are not able to deal with it. So I would argue that that person already had traces of it. It's just now sensational to say that, okay, he's been in and out of the COVID-19 recovery and then has committed this act of violence. But then if he just went and bit somebody 4 weeks ago, we'd be like, no big deal. Yeah, just another crazy person doing something on the street. So I'm not condoning, I'm not in any way agreeing with this, but what I'm saying is, I don't think it has anything to do with the COVID-19. So let's not try to connect and dramatize the situation. Okay. Next question from Mukul. How to maintain silence, inner peace, even when the environment is noisy? Well, I'll tell you this. It is most important to keep the peace when there's an environment that is noisy around you. So I'll give you a quick little story here. So once upon a time, long time ago, a king decided to have an art contest where he would call upon all of the subjects, all of the people in the kingdom to put out their best piece of art. And then they would have this big competition. And one day they would submit their pieces, and then there would be a inspection, and then somebody would win the first prize. So proclamations were made. There was people who went to the city centers and yelled out, then made this announcement, declared that there's going to be this great art contest going to happen and the king is going to be the judge. So people came from far and wide to the kingdom, to the king's palace on this particular chosen day. And then they were given time to create the piece of art. So everybody did. And at the end of the day, there were these many, many, many pieces of art. And then the king looked through all of them, and his team looked through all of them, and it whittled it down to 2 pieces of art. Number one, the first piece of art was a beautiful painting of a meadow, grassy green meadow with rolling hills, trees, birds, the sun setting at the end of the day. Very beautiful and picturesque, very serene. On the other side, the second finalist was a thunderstorm, heavy downpour, jagged rock face. And in a crack in the rock face during this thunderstorm, there was an eagle. And under the wings of the eagle were 2 chicks sleeping very peacefully. So guess which one won the contest? Number 2. Why did number 2 win the contest? It is so easy to find peace when everything is beautiful and still and convenient outside. The real test of peace is when you can find that silence in the midst of a storm. Hope that answers the question. So I'm seeing a lot of comments here, more than questions. Then Katie's asked one more question. This is going to be the last question. What do I do if I am living with people who have strong fear and personal rules about ever leaving the property except for groceries, but I need to go out and take walks and exercise to maintain my mental, physical, emotional health? But if I do, they will quarantine me, and then I'm isolated in my own home. I love that at the end of that. So you need to show them the science, right? So they're obviously bought into this, the whole philosophy around that's been floating around the internet. And, this has been publicly declared. Our government in California, the government of United States, the government of India, the government of many European countries all over the world basically have said, there has to be quarantine, there has to be a certain amount of social isolation. Most of us are going to be social isolated except for essential providers, right? So with that also, there's a lot of science to say this is about physical distancing. So let's not confuse physical distancing with social distancing. Okay, so there are 2 different things. Social distancing is needed for our mental, emotional health, like you pointed out, Katie. Physical distancing is needed for us to flatten the curve, as they're calling this. Okay, so what we need is that 6 foot of space, and there is science. You can go look it up, and I don't have to provide. There's plenty of evidence to show that that's what you need. And then when you come back from your walk, which is what I do every day, I go for a walk and I come back and I make sure that I thoroughly wash my hands. The mantra is 20 seconds. So I sing to myself, twinkle, twinkle, little star. So I wait till the whole song is over, and that's when I rinse off my hands. Okay. So I do take precautions. I'm sensible, but I'm not yielding into the fear because I, like you, feel the need for emotional and mental well-being. Okay, so that has brought us to the end of our time. Once again, a deep bow of gratitude. Thank you for making me pause in the middle of or towards the end of my day, but not quite at the end of my day, to share these moments of tranquility, meaningful exchange, positivity with all of you. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, be well.